Hello, Business Law, chapters 9 through 13. The law of contracts and sales. A contract, a legal enforceable exchange of or promises of an exchange of an action or an act. So it's a legal binding, pretty much promise that ensures that a thing will happen. And there's different kinds of contracts. Express contract, an exchange of an oral or written promise between parties which are enforceable in a court of law. There's an implied contract that is established by the contract of a party rather than the party's written or spoken words, so it is an implied. Bilateral contract, the exchange of one promise to another promise. Unilateral, an exchange of a promise for an action. Void contract, a contract that at its formation has a illegal objection or serious defects, so therefore the contract probably won't hold its value or be enforced in the court of law, won't have its legal acceptance. Duress, any wrongful act or threat that prevents a party from exercising free will when executing a contract. We go on to chapters 10. The law of contracts and sales. Complete performance, completion of all the terms of the contract. They have to all be met, or the party that doesn't meet the expectations or legal bindings will be penalized accordingly. The breach of contract, failure of one of the parties to perform their obligations under the contract at the time their performance is due. Punitive damages, monetary damages awarded in excess of compensatory damages for the sole purpose of defining similar contract in the future. So this is money that is awarded for the damages for deferring the similar conduct in the future. Rescission, cancellation of a contract, which I didn't know that term until I read this chapter. I'm going to go on to chapter 11. A tort, an injury to another's person or property, a civil wrong. This is the law. There's the law of torts, which is what we were talking about in this chapter, chapter 11. Nominal damages and punitive damages. Intentional tort, where the defendant knew the harmful effects that would happen and did it anyway. And neglectual tort, a civil wrong that involves a failure to meet the standard of care of a reasonable person. It talks about assault and battery, which is in battery, intentional, unwanted, and offensive bodily contact, and injury to another person, pretty much. Go on to chapter 12. The product and service liability law. Statutes of limitations, statutes that bars action arising more than a specified number of years after the case of the action arises. So the case can only be prosecuted in a certain amount of years or time before it can no longer be taken to trial. Disclaimer, a disavowal of liability for breach of warranty by the manufacturer or seller of a good in advance of the sale of the good. And as a whole, I thought that I thought that all these chapters were interesting and talked about contracts and tort and being held accountable for the contracts and the different kinds. And I learned a lot, as I'm learning a lot as the year goes on, because I am not very familiar with the business laws and the laws around business. So thank you.